Hey everybody, how are you guys doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and today I want to talk about why I think Nintendo needs the right game to launch their next generation console with, whatever it's called, whatever it turns out to be, and whenever it releases. Nailing the launch lineup is key for this console. Obviously, this isn't a surprise to anyone. I think that we all know launching with the right games is key to the success of any console, and we saw with the launch of the Switch that Nintendo knew exactly what they were doing. Not only did they launch with a killer app title with Breath of the Wild, they had the first year completely stacked with so many incredible games that it kind of does go down as one of the best launch years of any console in history. Now, we've all talked ad nauseum about how Nintendo needs to do the right things with the Switch 2 or whatever the console turns out to be, and the transition from Switch into Switch 2 is very, very important to Nintendo, and they've even gone on record saying that they know they need to treat this transition very carefully because they don't want to make any missteps like Nintendo has done, unfortunately, several times in the past. They want to do the right things to ensure success, and I actually think they will succeed. I have a lot of confidence in what I think Nintendo will be doing in the future, and whatever they're going to be doing with the Switch 2, I just feel like they've found the right balance for success this generation. And so while I'm not worried about what they're going to do, I do think it will be fun to discuss what could be the correct titles to launch the Switch 2 with. Now, I do want to say that I'm not really making this video as like a predictions, so to speak. There's a lot of questions about when Nintendo will reveal the next console and when they will release it. And I've talked about this for a few years now. I still want to believe that they might show it to us and confirm it with us before the end of 2023. More than likely, I think most of us feel that next year, 2024, is almost for sure when we're going to see the console actually release. That could be wrong. Who knows what tricks Nintendo has up its sleeve. Maybe they're not ready next year and it's actually going to release the year after in 2025. But I sure as heck don't believe that, and I don't think that most of you guys do either. It seems like, by and large, most folks believe that next year is when we're going to actually play the thing. And so, as far as making this a true prediction for the launch games or the launch lineup, that's not what this video is, but I do have some ideas on what I think makes the most sense, and that's what I want to talk about. So I think the first game that comes to mind, the one that feels the most obvious, and one that's kind of been doing the rumor mill the last couple of weeks, is the next 3D Mario game. Of course, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is just a few months away. It's a very exciting game. Most of us cannot wait to play it. I'm extremely pumped for Super Mario Bros. Wonder, with or without the online, like I talked about in my last video. I think it's going to be just fantastic and I can't wait to play it. But beyond that, we've also been waiting for the follow-up to Super Mario Odyssey, which, coincidentally, was a launch year release for the Nintendo Switch. And while it's not my favorite of the 3D Mario games, it is certainly a great game in its own right. And whether or not the next 3D Mario game is Odyssey 2 or something brand new, we've been waiting for the next 3D entry. And, like I said, rumor mill has been discussing the past few weeks that Nintendo might be launching the next console with the next 3D Mario game, and personally, I actually think this is the best choice and best option for them to do. We saw Nintendo's success using one of their flagship franchises to launch the Switch, like I said at the beginning, and as we all know, Zelda Breath of the Wild launched with the Switch. It also had a Wii U release, let's not forget about that. But the big release was the Switch version. It launched with the console, and it set the console up for huge, amazing success. Not only in that first year, but even here today in 2023, where it's, in my opinion, on pace to become the best-selling piece of video game hardware of all time. As I also recently discussed, I think that that is going to happen. And I think that launching with that killer app title, again, one of their flagship franchises, Zelda, was key to that. And so we know that Zelda isn't going to be able to launch the same way with the Nintendo Switch 2. Maybe there's like a Tears of the Kingdom port or something, or like a definitive edition that launches alongside of it. But that's not going to have the same impact as if the game was first available with the Switch 2. Tears of the Kingdom is 3 months old now. We've all played it. I personally loved the game. I think most people loved the game. And so it's too late for Zelda to have a brand new entry launch alongside of the Switch 2, but it is not too late for the next 3D Mario game. And so I think instead of Zelda using Mario to launch and kickstart this new generation with the Switch 2, it makes too much sense, man. And again, even though Mario Odyssey is not my favorite Mario game, I do think that if it was Mario Odyssey 2 launching the Nintendo Switch 2, it would be so exciting and people would rally around it. And even I would be extremely excited because I love Mario. And I really did like Mario Odyssey. That Odyssey 2, or whatever it turns out to be, the next 3D Mario game is the perfect launch title. Now, beyond Mario, obviously, you guys know I have to address the Metroid Prime 4 situation, because it is the only confirmed very high-profile game that we know Nintendo is making. Yeah, they're porting Luigi's Mansion 2, and they're making this, like, Princess Peach game, and those are great, and I'm excited for those. But the only other confirmed big game we know that they're making is Metroid Prime 4. And that's actually a pretty massive release, as we all know, because it's been mysterious for so long. And I have also gone on record with this over the years, stating that I think Metroid Prime 4 absolutely makes sense to be a launch game or a launch window game for the Nintendo Switch 2. I used to think that it made a lot of sense as a launch day game, and I do still think that that's possible. I think it's going to be cross-generational release. There's going to be a Switch version, and there's going to be a Switch 2 version. I do very much believe that. And while I think there is a great chance it could be a launch day game, as I've started to realize that the next 3D Mario game maybe makes more sense because it's a bigger franchise, I've now started to realize that maybe instead of a launch day release, Metroid Prime 4 could be that perfect launch window release, such as maybe releasing in months 2 or 3 of the Switch 2, so that Mario could be the ideal launch day game, and then just the very following month, they release Metroid Prime 4, and that could be the beginning kind of big first-party 1-2 punch to launch the Nintendo Switch 2 and set up, hopefully, a very successful first year. Now, the other big title that I don't want to leave out of this conversation is Mario Kart, and I think that a lot of you guys might have varying opinions on this concept, because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has been so insanely, unfathomably successful on the Nintendo Switch. In fact, the game itself has been that successful. We can't forget the game sold like 8 million or so copies on the Wii U, which is huge no matter what the install base would be, but it's even made larger simply because the Wii U didn't sell all that many units, unfortunately. So across the board, between both versions, Mario Kart 8, like over 50 million units sold at this point. It's probably going to hit 60 million in its lifetime. It's still going. We're waiting on the final wave of DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You know, Mario Kart 8 has shown that there is life for the franchise, obviously. And so I know some people may say they don't need to make Mario Kart 9. They don't need to be making a new Mario Kart right now. Just carry the success of Mario Kart 8 even into the Switch 2. And personally, I'm speaking for myself when I say this, I don't want that. Mario Kart 8 is great, and I'm loving the DLC, but I am definitely one of those people who's ready for the next Mario Kart game, man. Yeah, we know that they could probably live off Mario Kart 8 for the next century, but I don't want that. As a fan, and as much as I love Mario Kart 8, I want something new and fresh. I want to see them evolve the franchise in some way. I want that next release. And whether it's Mario Kart 9 or 10, because I know Tour kind of falls in line here and whatever happens with that. But the next new console Mario experience, if they release that in the launch year of the Nintendo Switch 2, let alone in the launch window, that could be another massive win. It's a push for their online service. It's a multiplayer-focused game. Mario Kart is an insanely successful franchise. People will buy the Switch 2 just for a brand new Mario Kart, the same way they would for a Mario game. And so I don't want to leave it out of the conversation that alongside the new 3D Mario game and Metroid Prime 4, the next Mario Kart game, not a third port of Mario Kart 8, but the next new Mario Kart game, is absolutely a worthwhile launch title for the Switch 2. Now, there are certainly other worthy games to bring up for like a launch window for a Switch 2 or a launch year title for the Nintendo Switch 2. I think the next Donkey Kong game is kind of around the corner and also maybe makes sense for that first launch year. The next Animal Crossing game might be sooner than we think, so, and I say this as somebody who doesn't like or play Animal Crossing personally, but I really think that they're probably preparing the next game in that franchise as well. I could see that being one of the big launch year games. And beyond that, we also know that Monolith Soft is working on a new game of some kind. Whether it's another Xenoblade or some other IP, which is probably more likely, that could be something else that surprises us in year one for the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. And so, call me optimistic, man, but I just feel like Nintendo has learned so much from this generation. And even though the Switch is far from my favorite Nintendo console, it's a great console. The library is unbelievable. I've talked about that many times over the years. And I know that we all know this. It's like obvious when you look at like the exclusive and the first party library across the entirety of the Switch's life so far. It's obscene how many great games have released, and they've touched almost all of their key franchises. Yeah, we're missing Star Fox and we're missing F-Zero. I know a lot of people want like a new Earthbound game. I feel like they're never going to revisit that franchise, and I have no opinions on it because I'm not an Earthbound fan. Although I think it would be smart for them to make a new game because people really want it, but I think that they've gone on record saying that they don't plan to do so. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't really follow that franchise or anything. Kid Icarus is another game franchise that we've been missing for a while. Golden Sun. You know, you could name a lot of those, but outside of those few exceptions, most of their marquee franchises have had releases on the Switch, and they've almost all been great and very successful and sold very well and pleased the fan base. You know, the Switch has been great, man, but we all know that the next big thing is on the horizon. Next year, we're probably going to see it. What does that mean for future games, for future entries in our favorite franchises, maybe even for new IPs? Another thing that's probably going to release in the launch year as well, a new IP. It's a very exciting time, and so I will question all of Nintendo's worst decisions, but at the same time, I have a lot of confidence in them right now, and because I believe the Switch 2 is coming in the next 6 to 18 months, I think they're going to have some really great games ready for launch. I think that 3D Mario is going to be one of those games, and I expect Metroid Prime 4 to release within the first couple of months as well, and so I just can't wait to see what Nintendo's going to do.